Yo, what's up, everybody? Good morning. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, you guys had a good weekend. If we look at the chart, just getting right into it, we see that exactly what I thought would happen has happened here. Right? We painted the fact that I wouldn't be surprised if price was going to come lower, sweep out Friday's low, and then what do you know? Picked up and started moving higher. Off of all the stuff that we talked about last week, off the stuff I talked about this weekend. If you haven't had a chance to go through that live call, I highly suggest you do so. Let's just face it. Missing calls that we're doing here, you're missing the opportunity to be able to gain some very powerful wisdom and knowledge that I've proved every single day in my private group this year and in the last 3.5 years, but then even more so publicly here on YouTube, doing the same thing over and over every single week, and it won't stop, right? And it just continues, right? So again, hopefully you guys have had a good week so far. Remember, it's NFP week, so the start of the week obviously is going to be somewhat slow, or generally could be, but it's also the time when you want to do the most trading if you are going to trade this week. Let me know in the chat as well if you guys can hear me okay. Of course, YouTube and everything's been chaotic tech-wise this morning. Okay, Nico said, yeah. Okay, cool. I got ultra low latency too, so shouldn't have much of a lag. I think it's like maybe 5 seconds. So yeah. That being said, missing stuff. But yeah, with that being said, does everything make sense from Sunday? What the fuck? How the fuck do I get this fucking thing out of here? Oh. Damn, there's like an update that happened to my Windows and it like changed hella stuff. So I'd like hover over things. Things were starting to pop out. Had to update so many things this morning. Had me kind of in a mess. But yeah, so like I said, does everything from Sunday make sense? George said, yeah. All right. But yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys have any questions. We're a little bit close to the open, so, we're not going to spend too much time breaking things down individually in terms of topics. But yeah, let's get started doing an overview before the open comes out. So we do see something that does conflict with the likelihood of the currencies and the indices going higher. We have a pretty solid drop here in the bonds. So we got to be very cautious with this run higher in the indices. We have broken through a level that I would have preferred to see hold. We're back inside that monthly bullish order block. We're also inside this weekly bullish order block, and we're kind of breaking down below these lows here. So if we've already gotten down below it, so if we come back up into this level here, or we break down below this and then we trade back up into it, depending on how that behaves, it'll determine whether something like this is going to be targeted. That would not be very bullish for the indices. We do see that there's a slight crack in correlation. I mentioned when we went into November that this is the type of, or the point in the year where it caps the yearly range. It's also a part of the year where things become a little bit less correlated. Like if there's going to be, cracks in correlation, it's going to be pretty relevant around this time of year. Seasonality, though, seems to, be having a pretty heavy influence on the indices, the commerce, the amount of buying that's happening in terms of products. You know, it seems to be really stimulating things. And then, of course, we kind of invalidated the potential continued decline in here by disrespecting this bearish breaker that we talked about on Sunday. Right, and then we basically traded lower. So before I move on, I'm probably going to put these to the side. We're going to keep tabs on this. Like I said, we were in an area where, you know, it's going to be heavily influenced by, you know, if we get up above this level, that then would put us in position to target up here. Or if it was to stay below this down candle, which was a bearish breaker, you know, it would be able to hold price and then potentially see a continued move lower. Because we have a stop run, because we have a inverted fair value gap, and then we also have this larger fair value gap, which I believe is a monthly. Yeah, it's a monthly fair value gap. Because we got up above that, we're going to have to definitely consider, until the midpoint of this high to that low is violated, if it gets violated, that'd be the only time I'd be suspecting that this is going to drop. So for now, it just seems like it's reaching up here. Is it reaching up here to tag this, then drop? Possibly. We'll see. But for now, we're going to need more evidence of that in order for us to you know, really get back in line with this going lower. Again, if this goes lower, it influences DXY for the most part to go lower. If it goes higher, influences DXY generally to go higher. We can kind of see how that's not... If I could pull it up real quick. We can see how that's not really influencing this right now. We have dug down below this daily fair value gap. Let me get off the quarterly time frame. So I did mention that this low is going to be significant. And if we violate that low, we want to see how it treats that, because then it may end up being a bearish breaker. We came off of a quarterly fair value gap engagement. And then we got this strong reaction from this quarterly level I talked about on Sunday. And then, of course, I talked about it also in my private group in greater detail. But again, we see that response. And then, of course, we're kind of just stalled out in here ahead of this weekly fair value gap. It's also inside of a wick in there. Okay, this daily wick here. So, again, we're at a level that it's going to have to make a decision. And if it violates those levels, we're probably going to dig deeper into this level, right? The order block, the quadrants, all these lows in here. Those are previous day's lows, previous week's lows. So that's a lot of liquidity, trendline liquidity also. So breaking through this triggers my interest to want to go and attack those levels. But for now, we're going to have to see how it's going to respond from here, because at the moment, we're just in consolidation overall, right? It's just still within this high to that low, but we're inside of a discount array that, you know, again, may end up being pretty reactive. And again, if we stay below this, from this daily chart, that's giving us a little bit further context for this time frame. So we've also broken through 50% of this order block here. So we're going to have to see how it's going to treat that. Is it going to stay above it, which it is right now? That's also, again, in line with the fair value gap and the wick midpoint here on the weekly chart. Okay, so that's kind of what I see in the DXY. I called this market maker sell model also, right? And we were up here when I called it, and it basically did exactly what I said and dropped down, and that's led to, you know, somewhat of a response here in the indices. So yeah, with that being said, let's move to the hourly real quick. Right, so now we do have these highs up here. If it is going to get up there, it's going to continue this market maker buy model I talked about. And so we should be in the second stage distribution. We completed one here as well. And then, of course, we broke above the high, changing state of delivery, pushing price to the buy side. Okay, so that's what we're going to be watching. If we get above this high, I'll classify this high to that low because it took buy side, took sell side, and then we ended up going back above it, inverting this fair value gap here. This whole high to low, the midpoint of that would be treated as a balanced price range. So that, or from the high to the low, we shouldn't even really attempt to get back down too deeply into that. If order flow is going to continue to support down close candles and targeting of buy side liquidity. Right, and of course we would like to see the DXY drop to really support that idea. Again, we have a cracking correlation with the bonds and yields. That's not necessarily the greatest thing for high probability trading, but we're just going to put this on the back burner, and if it kicks back in line, great. You know, we'll be able to be there and implement it into our analysis. But for now, we're just going to obviously keep separate objectives for these separate narratives, at least for the most part at the moment. Okay, we got this big wick in here. We have this high to that low. I talked about this breaker, this up candle, trading into it, this fair value gap. We wanted to see that hold if it was going to keep going lower last week. It didn't do that, and now we're trading inside this wick here. We have a high, low that took sell side and rapidly came back above. So this high to that low, as you see, I have classified as a BPR. We have an order block here, change in state of delivery twice. And then we have this big wick into that that has basically continued to support buy side delivery. And if DXY drops, it's going to continue to want to push this to the buy side. Okay, and we're inside of a 2-day, 3-day daily order block or daily fair value gap. So that's significant as well. So if it stays above that, again, it's just another dynamic level to watch. And we have it on the chart. So we got previous week's high up here. We have another previous week's high up here. Right, so that's the closest one. So this high, this high, this high. If it ends up staying above this, which it seems like it's going to do, seems like it's doing for now, we should be able to target price going up above here. We also have this order block here on the euro. We want to watch for 50% of that, see if it can't close above that. This wick here, you know, is a bit suspect. If it stays below the 50% of that, and then we dive deeper into the daily fair value gap, we may be still set to try to come and take this. But as you see on this chart here, as I've had called and labeled for weeks at this point, we have an SMT here that's now led to a shift, and now we got a bullish breaker, and it looks like it's failing to really want to get down below that. So, and again, if DXY continues to drop, that'll be favoring buy side for the indices and the currencies. And again, as far as the Nasdaq goes, right, we do again have these highs up here. First and foremost, though, we have the high up here from Sunday. So Sunday's high, and then we have a high here from I guess that's part of Wednesday. So the high of Wednesday in this week that's encapsulated here. The high is right here, so that's the most significant one. Of course, we have this if we start really raging up there. Only way that I'm going to look to be bearish today on the indices, at least for the Nasdaq, is if we can close below this fair value gap. So as long as we stay above that, as long as we stay above this high, this down delivery here, this high to that low, it's its own like micro balance price range within the larger one. Same as this here. You know, you see how it kind of respected it, the wicks were respected, and it just closed, it took this low here, and now we've rampaged to the buy side. So if we look at London as well, London was basically very quick, set a low of the day for now. So again, unless it closes below this, I'm not going to be too interested in trying to take a short until it proves that it wants to do that. Order flow has been bullish. Why go against the trend, right? Why push against this on NFP week? You know, if it was a different week, it'd be a little bit more flexible to catch like counter trend sells or other opinions aside from the main narrative. But again, it's NFP week. We have clear levels that makes it obvious if they're broken that we're going to end up going to the downside. So we might as well just wait for those moments. We have multiple macros, so there's going to be a good amount of opportunity as long as you sit tight and don't do anything stupid and overtrade. and follow the rules, you'll be all right. All right, so again, with that being said, we got the 3 indices, right? So the Nasdaq is definitely the strength holder across the 3 indices. It's the most interested in going higher, basically doing what I basically framed out. Like I said a low Friday, ran through that low into a daily fair value gap, into a daily order block, into an 8-hour breaker, and it's respected that. So why go against that? Change of state of delivery after stop run down here, failed bearish weekly bearish breaker. So there's no reason to push against that. So we're only going to be looking for buys today until proven otherwise. Okay, which has to do with this here. So closing below this would make me see this as a market maker sell model targeting these relative equal lows. Because this here is a failure swing, if we do end up doing that type of delivery, it may end up being low resistance to blow out this low here. All right, so we will keep that in mind. Okay, so London's been very fast, so New York session makes sense to want to try to pull back a little bit. We have another fair value gap in here to watch too, but I think this 1 hour fair value gap's good. And if we get up above this high, this up candle becomes a breaker, and then that will set the stage for us to get up here if we can do that. Okay, so it's not unreasonable for them to open up like they just have, possibly decline a little bit, tap into some of this. We don't want to see this low violated. Okay, this is an intermediate term low, and then once this high gets taken, when we're on these lower time frames, it could be more of a long-term low than anything. But this high has to be taken, right? So yeah, hopefully everything makes sense. Let me see the chat. So here's the moment within the hourly time frame. Want to see how we react once. Yeah, for sure. That definitely could be a target up here, right? That could be a trade idea to get up there potentially. So we will just keep this in mind. I'm not interested in taking trades right at the open. News comes at 7 o'clock. Okay. 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We've had a good amount of news, but what the hell happened to my filter? Just added everything. Yeah, President Trump speaks during PM session, so we don't really got to worry too much about it. So yeah, it's kind of a light news day today for Tuesday. So ahead of NFP, which is literally tomorrow. It's a day before NFP. So it runs the risk of them not really trying to extend too much. And the reason being, they want to build liquidity potentially. Is that a for sure thing? No. But we've already kind of laid out what it is that we're trying to observe here. Okay, so again, hopefully everything makes sense. And where's my box? See, we got up above that. We have a run on stops, shift in market structure back to the buy side, and we got the near-term buy side liquidity up there. So if we go to the 5-minute chart, considering that as our target up here, we now have a run on stops, shift in market structure. Let's see what happens with this as a result. But yeah, appreciate y'all hopping on. Hopefully you guys have had a good week so far. Cold weather kills me, bro. Kills my skin. Does that happen to you guys too when it gets hella cold? Start getting like dry skin and chapped lips and all that? Or is it just me? Does that happen to y'all too? I don't know, it happens every year for me. Yeah. All right, so I'm not weird. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to hear. I was like, why the hell does this keep happening to me? So it looks like everything we've planned out just came to fruition. On this 30-second chart, you could see that there's a run up there. This is a market maker buy model on the 30-second chart. Second stage distribution, YouTube model, run on stops, shift, fair value gap, run to the buy side. So if you were on the 30-second chart, you probably got your 30 points if you observed that and trusted what I'm saying. Again, the same financial advice, obviously, you do what you will with the information. But yeah, it was a pretty nice move so far. So let's see what can happen, what can set up on these time frames a little bit above this. Again, that was a stop run. We got down below the weekly open, and it's really, really picking up right now. So we're not even inside of a macro, so if you feel like you're missing something, you're not. You know, if you're following my rules, we don't take trades right at the open like that. But hey, there was the opportunity there. If you have the second charts. If you don't have a second chart, or the 30-second chart at least, you don't have that. That's not your opportunity. So there's nothing to be upset about. But the narrative, you know, we called the narrative. It's been correct. Where it was headed. Now, since we kind of blew past that, again, this up candle becomes a bullish breaker. The level I wanted to see violated, if it was gonna be a short, has definitely not been traded to as anticipated. See an order block here, order block here. Move up in time frame, we can kind of see. So yeah, we got this order block here too. So that's pretty much what the reaction was from, this 8-hour order block. Right? See it right there? And how do you know? Because look at the response off that area. Again, whether you looked at it as an 8-hour order block, whether you looked at it as a breaker, you know, all of it brings you to a very similar spot, right? And then again, we're inside of a market maker buy model, like I've called since we were down here, or especially when we got up above this high. And the prediction that I had on Sunday has perfectly came to fruition. From the decline, taking out Friday's low, to the acceleration through the price levels that we're at right now. Everything has come to fruition as close to perfect as you possibly can get. You know. So yeah. Hopefully you guys understand what has made us arrive here, because that's the most important, obviously. So I'm just waiting for a macro. You know, this move has definitely opened up pretty aggressively so far. This is, let me just, I don't even need this box really. Let's keep it clean, right? This high. Get that out the way. could see SMT here too between the Dow. The Dow made a lower low, while the S&P and the Nasdaq made higher lows here. Okay, so that's also something that supports this. Aside from the higher time frame bullishness, right, from that daily chart, all the different components that I've shared with you guys. I mean, everything is just proven just this week, just this last like 2 months, let alone 12 straight months, which is basically what we're going to go into, of every single week having the bias correct. Literally, you can go back and check. Every single week, we've had the bias correct overall, the narrative correct. And then in between, day to day, we've had the bias. We've had to be flexible here and there, but that's all been inside of the higher time frame narrative. On the grand scheme of things, where price is going higher time frame wise, we've been basically perfect with where it's trying to go. You know, give or take, 1 or 2 times. But even then, even when we get it incorrect, right? Even if we start the day with one objective and it goes the other way, we've been able to, in the moment, with little effort, get back in line fluidly with where it's headed. And again, I've proven it, And those of you on the call right now, I know some of my private group students are here. You could call me out if I'm lying, if I'm not telling the truth. You have no reason to defend me if I'm a liar. But you guys have seen it too, right? And some of you guys have been doing it on your own, right? Which is great. That's kind of the point, right? To get you to that point. But yeah, so you can see that I'm not bothered by this big run. We're not even inside of a macro. There was an opportunity a little bit earlier inside that 30-second chart. Like I said, YouTube model. This is also a breaker. If you take... yeah, we have to go way low to find the razor model in here. But it was there too. Right, but it's really, really rapid right now. So we definitely want to see. Remember, the bonds and yields are doing what they're doing. They're kind of going against this run higher and the run lower in the DXY. So if this was to turn around at some point, maybe break down below this, these areas in here may be put in jeopardy. But as long as we stay above this 8-hour order block, I have no interest in going short. But we'll see, right? We'll see if that changes, and we'll be ready to adjust. And it's going to be short-term in nature if it does try to dig lower. It'll just be to stop out people from London. But I don't believe it's going to really do that. So we're going to keep tabs on this fair value gap. Trading into that fair value gap, if we can get one of our models to show up, we still have that target up here, the highs. Let me make sure I mark that off. These are relatively equal highs. That's beautiful right there. That's absolutely gorgeous. So that's definitely something I'm going to keep my attention on. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you've gotten value from the calls that I do here. Definitely appreciate it. It helps the channel grow, helps me get in front of more people, helps YouTube make sure people get my notifications. I've noticed that's a problem as well. People say that they haven't been getting my notifications, which kind of sucks. But what we do here is undeniable. It's centered on trying to get you guys to succeed, get you guys to be better traders. Of course, I do have a one-on-one group, right? A private community if you wanted to join that to get extra help, daily live calls, extra support by me and my fantastic, beautiful people-filled community. There's a lot of elite traders in there now. Over the years, they've developed pretty significantly. And, of course, we have new traders, too, that are on that path. But now they're surrounded by people that are willing to help them. And they have a mentor, me, and ICT, obviously, that proves it, that comes out here every day. Literally, I don't think I've taken a day off in 3.5 years. And, I mean, my private group can even say that. I'm up live every single day. Even if they don't hop on, I'm still sending the links out. So, So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, links in the description. If not, and you just enjoy these and you're getting value, that's fine too. You know. But yeah, thank you guys in advance, and thank you guys for the support over this last year. And to my private group, again, I know I say it a lot, but thank you for the trust. You could be anywhere, but you're here, and I'm grateful that you see the value in what I do without having to be like all these influencers and do the whole lifestyle marketing and, you know, shove my big amounts of profit days in your, like, down your throat to keep your attention. I'm grateful that you guys see the value without me having to do that, because I promised myself that, you know, once I obtain this skill set and I do come out here and try to teach, I will never be in that category of influencer or mentor, because, you know, I do it 3 times a year. I show big days that I have. Like this year, I showed a $5,000 gain in gold. I haven't traded gold in 3 years, but when I did trade gold, which was also on a Sunday, I posted that. You know, same thing back in March, I believe. I did the same thing back in March. If you go check some of my results highlights, you could see those things there as well, if that's something you must see. But again, I pride myself in not having to do all that. So I let the chart speak, and I let your guys' results also speak for me as far as whether there's, you know, value to be gained from spending time here with us. You know, so again, thank you guys for the trust, and thank you for, you know, you guys on YouTube, thank you for keeping me updated as well. I get lots of testimonials every day pretty much, if not every day, every other day, from people on YouTube, from people on Instagram, just saying how much everything that I share has helped either center their focus to what's important, or just overall help them be more organized and disciplined and really have the right mindset. And of course, learn how to effectively use the tools, you know. So again, thank you to all of you. And this year's been spectacular, and next year's going to be probably even more spectacular. It's kind of been the trend over the last couple of years. Every year outpaces the other. So we got this high here. I don't think we should go beyond that. This should be a quick response if we're going to be correct in terms of price going to the buy side. So now that we have this somewhat larger PD or somewhat larger time frame PD array being traded into, this is when you can then go to like the 1 minute. This is when you can go to like the 30-second and start to see if you can find your model. Why is that important? You're framing things from a bigger level that'll have a stronger reaction. So if this is going to go to the buy side or sell side, right? We'll just say buy side for now, for this example. If you can catch price trading into a 5 minute, a 15 minute, an hourly, a daily PD array, and then you take that as the opportunity to go and, you know, look at those lower time frames to find your model, I think that is the most effective way to frame setups, to get yourself behind the most effective responses, I guess, right? Because if you just take things anywhere, you're not going to be having that back end context, you know, and context is everything. You know, order blocks, all these PD arrays, they're worthless if time and the other context, like, you know, stop runs, being in line with the higher time frame narrative, having a clear draw on liquidity, if all that stuff is not in line with your setup, what the hell are you doing? It's a gamble, because you're just taking whatever you see, and that's just not how things need to be done. That's the difference a lot of times. That plus mindset are the two differences between, you know, people that are really successful and people that will continue to struggle. You know, so yeah, this is something that keeps you selective as well. So again, if we break down below this, I will then classify this as a balanced price range, right? At least a small balanced price range, all of this as well. And then again, that may set us up to target the lows down there as a contingency, if and only if it breaks down below that. Because then we can adjust and target this, especially if DXY goes higher. This is definitely a possibility because of the bonds and yields doing what they're doing. unless they turn around here, right? This sweep below the low turns into a run up. That would be confidence boosting that we're still bullish overall, underlying with the intermarket relationships, because the bonds, again, heavily influence the currencies and indices. The yields heavily influence what the DXY is going to do, and it reverse correlates with the other assets, right? Like the currencies, the GBP USD, Euro USD, and the indices. That's why this is so important. That's why I look at this every day, every week, and I point your guys' attention to it. You know, it's very much needed. So yeah, then we got the DXY. Like I said, it has that market maker buy or market maker sell model. We're just basically retracing back. This is a very aggressive reaction off that low. What do you think everyone's thinking there? You know, they're probably thinking buy. We do want to see if it can attempt to get down below the 50% of this weekly fair value gap, because if it doesn't, this is basically respecting this weekly fair value gap still. We have not displaced below this, changing state of delivery on the weekly chart to go lower. So technically, it's still structurally intact to continue to try to go higher. Right? So if we see reason to believe that that's going to be favored, basically seeing price displace and get beyond this, right? Maybe break through this wick in here. That'd be pretty clarity inducing. Definitely if we get up above this high, we're headed back to the highs up here. But if it stays below those levels, order flow is still continuing to hold price lower on this daily chart. So what matters is whether we break this low here overall, because that will change in state of delivery to the downside. It'll break the 50% of this. It will make sure that this is inverted. And then trading back into it also has a breaker here too. So that, again, would then set our framework to then go back to the downside instead of continuing. Okay? But we're just going to bank on, you know, seeing how this is going to hold, seeing if this is going to hold, given we've taken out these levels in here. Right? Is it going to hold below this? It's going to be very telling, especially with these equal lows down here. I want to see if we could blow that out. It'd be a totally different story if we blew that out first. But because we didn't blow that out, it's absolutely a possibility. And because we're back above this weekly fair value gap, it's a possibility as well, given that we're in a range. And the fact we didn't blow this low out to shift on the higher time frame, that price could potentially still go up or go down. So it's a 50-50 chance, in my opinion, unless we get down below this midpoint here, because then that really sets the stage for us to blow that out with confidence. You know, and again, there's a cracking correlation between these two and the other assets they influence. And then what we see here, obviously, we got SMT. So if we were to break down below the 50% of this wick, that would be enough, especially if we break this midpoint too, and then get back below this daily fair value gap. That sets the stage for us to keep going lower. But if we don't do that and it stays above midpoints of wicks in order flow that's bullish or bearish, should be respected, supporting the direction you're looking to see price go in. Right? So if this is going higher, if it trades into down wicks like this or up wicks, the 50% should act as a dynamic support level. You know, fair value gaps that we're trading up into should be getting inverted. Right? The levels, the quadrant levels in them should also be inverted. Right? And just basically respected. And when you're watching this stuff, plus down candles in an uptrend, a normal fair value gaps that should support price going higher, all that stuff should be intact as you watch price, you know, print its way to whatever liquidity you're looking to see at target. Can you throw a 1 in the chat if that makes sense? Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. See, now we're digging a little bit deeper here. Okay, George, I know it makes sense to you, my brother. We talk about this all the time, huh? Okay, Tyler said yeah. All right, cool. So yeah, again, we're not in here chasing price. Price went aggressively to the buy side. So now we're waiting to see, are we going to re-deliver into this fair value gap, tap that, and then continue to go higher? Right? We're spending time inside this. This is a 5-minute one as well. But now, since it's digging a little bit deeper, I moved up a little bit, and now we can also see that it is a 10-minute fair value gap too. So again, it's even more significant if this was to invert for the sell side, right? Because then that would induce potential sell side liquidity. And we're now not going from inefficiencies and internal range liquidity to external range. We're going from external range to internal stops, right? And then depending on how it blows out that low, if it gets down there, you know, that would also determine whether we're going to have speed to really get down below an even deeper level. But that's, again, a contingency plan. We're not believing that yet until something like this gets inverted, because we still got DXY interested in going lower. And again, we can't really use the bonds and yields because they're cracked in correlation with their assets that they influence. All right. And yeah, we're stuck inside this suspension block on the Dow and this bearish order block. So one of them is going to have to give, right? Given what we've seen, you know, I do believe that it's still likely that price will continue going higher. It's the end of the year, so I don't know exactly how likely it is to create new all-time highs. I mean, given seasonality and just how dynamic things are bullishly towards the end of the year because of commerce and purchasing and economic inflows and outflows just ramp up significantly. So, you know, it could happen, right? Anything can happen, right? But yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. I wouldn't trust shorts here just yet, especially with DXY declining like that. And because it's NFP week, I'm not going to just shoot at anything. It's just the way it is. And if it does decline and break down below this fair value gap I mentioned, great. We could catch a continuation to target the lows down there. But until that proves itself, I'm going to prefer to see us potentially invert this and then get up above this swing high. We've taken liquidity. See how DXY wants to treat this decline. Is it going to continue to drop, right? Or is it going to hold that and then, you know, rally up? I don't know why I'm missing some. Missing some of my indicators. What the hell is going on? There it is. So yeah, we got a massive regular trading hours gap down here too. So again, if it inverts this, that's also another target I would be reaching for. But again, we need things to take place to prove that it wants to do this or do that. And for now, overall narrative is bullish. Now that's going to change obviously if DXY rips to the buy side from here, taking out, you know, a lot of these levels. For now, it's not really. It doesn't really have a justifiable reason to go against the higher time frame bullish narrative. So we're going to continue to trust that. Right? We got a stop rate in here. Okay, we got this stop rate. See how this fair value gap in here is treated. This is also a breaker here, this high. So we'll see if it can get above that. Yeah, everything's still intact here, so. So yeah, everything's still intact, right? Nothing has changed, right? And what you got to think about is, do you have a model in here? Is there anything telling you one thing or another? We're inside the macro, so it's going to have to make a decision here. You know, it's either going to stay consolidated, break through this fair value gap here and invert it, and then favor going lower. Fully confirmed when we get down below this, if it is going to go to the sell side. We do have news coming in about 5 seconds at this point. So let's see what that does here. Let's let this kind of marinate a little bit. We're above these levels, so as long as this stuff stays intact, down close candle, we got an order block in there. So let's see what happens. We do we got SMT? I think we got SMT up at these highs here. So we may, if it does refuse and DXY turns around, we have an SMT at these highs up here that we have to pay attention to. But SMT is only relevant when the DXY can confirm it, right? Just because you see SMT doesn't mean it's gonna, unfold. Especially if you have two of them. That was a beautiful response there. And I'm going to let you guys know I did take an execution in there. Secured my 20 to 30 points. I did mention, as long as it stays above this level, if you have a model in there, you can take an execution. I'm not putting you in trades. You're going to have to get your hands dirty and listen to what I'm saying and make your own decisions. But I mean, we've been correct since Sunday. Again, all year, I've had a savage track record that I've proven. Okay? And I'm not just saying that I took an execution. I actually did take the execution. Trade of 8 with Apex and my personal funded account. We take it from there to there, 40 points. Stop loss was 26 points. And again, as long as we stayed above that, we expected bullishness. Oh wait, let me pull that up so you guys could see. Trade of 8 logo. Trade of 8. Okay. So yeah. Hopefully everything makes sense. Everything we've called out this morning for the millionth time has went straight to what we wanted to see it do. A potential secondary opportunity may reside here, where price trades back into this high here. And if DXY is now ramping up, so it's a bit suspect to try to deal with this at this point. Like to try to chase price. Things are changing too rapidly, real time. So is it going to be a dramatic change? We're not going to know until we see how this is going to be respected in here. The bonds and yields, again, are cracked in correlation, so you got to be cautious. But a secondary opportunity, if we were looking to target the buys up here, would be somewhere in this area, somewhere back in there. I want to see how this candle closes. But if we go here, we have a fair value gap in there. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to reach into that. That also sets up, like I said, the bullish breaker. And then, as long as the 50% of that breaker stays intact and it doesn't get through this candle too much, it could wick through it a little bit if it wants. But as long as it stays above the 50% of that breaker, if we can get DXY to continue to drop, it'll be even more dynamic to the buy side and continue. That'll just be a secondary portion or a higher time frame version of the model that you're looking at on the seconds chart. If something happened in here, you could look on these upper time frames and see a larger perspective setup potentially setting up for you. If you miss a move, there's continuations all the time. You just have to be able to know how to identify them. And here on YouTube, and especially in my private group, we talk about that tactic and the way to do that. So if that's something you want to dive deep into, of course you can learn that here. But if you want even more handheld experience, you can come and join the private group. Links in the description, right? But yeah, you know, all throughout price legs, your model on every time frame, something could potentially be showing up as a secondary opportunity for what it is that you're trying to do, right? You just have to be able to find it. And now we got this here. There is that. So yeah, hopefully all that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like that set up another move as well, like I assumed it probably would. We'll see what DXY wants to do. It's definitely sideways, so we're on top of the weekly fair value gap too, so it should be able to hold it potentially. But ideally, if we're going to see this go higher, we want to see this drop. We don't want to see that weekly fair value gap hold. This one here, we're sitting right here. It may stall out and hold maybe for tomorrow, and then try to blow these out tomorrow. Build up as much liquidity as they can. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But there's another opportunity right there that I just gave you guys on a silver platter. Again, 75 points this time. Right? So there's two signals that I hinted to this morning. Obviously, you have to know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on, right, and I'm saying things and you just don't know, that's even more reason for you not to take the trades. You know, that's just the way it is. You know, again, I'm not like everybody where I'm just going to put you in trades. I want you to learn this. You know, I'm not the type of person or mentor that wants you to be tethered to me forever. I want you to be able to eventually, you know, if you do want to hang around the community and be part of what we're building, I want you to want to do it because you want to do it, not because you need to be tethered. And I think every mentor should have that opinion, that view in the industry, but sadly that's not the case. But, you know, if I'm the only one with ICT that has that perspective, so be it. Because it does a lot more for the trader, just like it did for me. You know, if I didn't learn that way, if it wasn't done for me that way by ICT and two of my other mentors in the ICT community, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't be able to do what you see me do. I wouldn't be able to call, bias, and execute without fear the way that I, you know, prove I do, without the way that I've learned. You know, it wouldn't be possible. So I want to recreate that in you guys, because, you know, it may seem difficult at first because you don't understand everything yet, but once you get it and you arrive, which is, you know, just never quit, eventually you will arrive. But once you arrive and you've had this type of experience, you're going to appreciate it even more than you ever thought, you know. So again, this offered 75 points. So again, I called out, where was the execution? It was 32nd. It was right there. Was it right there? It's at 6:58. So 6:58 right there. Oh, wait. It wasn't 75 points. Wait, tripping. So this execution here potentially. Wait, why am I being thrown off right now? Okay. 6:58. So 6:58. That was right in here. That's where the execution was. The first one, and then the second one. Damn it. Let me see. What did I? Oh, I put it on this other template. Kind of threw me off a little bit. But yeah, from here up to there, it's another 30 points. So from this area down here, from this initial entry up to there, it's offered about 63 points. Sorry about that. I kind of got discombobulated a little bit for some reason because I have so many tabs up. Sometimes I mark one and then I move on to the other one and forget that I didn't put certain things on the current template. So I kind of just got to kind of twist it up real quick. But yeah, so this whole move, overall, if you held it all the way, that was about 70 points almost, 66 points, 65 points. And this low here, running up, trying to catch a continuation, that's also offered about 31 points. So whether you took the 30 points down here or up here, it offered it to you. DXY is now doing something opposite of what it was doing while we were in this bullish trend here, right? Because it's NFP week, you know, this type of stuff can happen, you know, and we're at a higher time frame level here. Like I said, we need to see how it's going to treat this. It could easily hold this and save these equal lows if it is going to be bearish this week off NFP. It could save it literally for tomorrow. Like there's nothing putting it past that. That's the risk of trading NFP week. You know, it can do things outside of what you're assuming. You know, it can make you get whipsawed around and then eventually you could still be correct. But the risk of price doing unorthodox things and just being very jerky, very consolidated, very, you know, fake follow through type of vibe. I mean, it could do all these things during NFP, and the more you study NFP, the more you'll realize the risk, right? So it offered 30 points here, and then the secondary opportunity offered 30 points there. All we're looking for is 20 to 30 points. You know, you saw my execution. I bagged a little bit more than 30 points, but that's just, you know, it ran. So, you know, why was I going to exit before it even started creating a down candle? You know, once it left the down candle here, I ended up exiting, right? So, see, actually it was this candle here, right? It's right there. It's 45 points. So again, outside of this, again, we got two more macros, so we'll see. We'll see what we can get to show itself. Again, do you notice how I'm like not bothered by anything? Like I'm not in a rush, right? I'm not over here panicking like, oh, am I going to miss something? When you spend enough time here, we have processes for missing moves. And so if we miss a move, we find the move pretty quickly, right? So, man, keep going. CZ Rock, I appreciate you, brother. I'm assuming this is your first time here. God bless you, brother. Appreciate the support. We're happy to have you here. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat. You know, everybody in the chat's really nice. And we're here to help each other up, you know what I mean? We're not here to have ego. We're not here to sell you fake dreams and false reality about what trading really is. You know, this whole, you know, thing that I do on social media and then in my private group, it's all centered around getting you guys to be independent. And that doesn't come from me selling you a dream. That's good for marketing. It probably draws a bigger crowd. But hey, yeah, I'd love for this channel to get big, but you know, we don't need 1 million subscribers to feel like we've left a pretty solid impact in people's lives before we leave this earth, you know, with this skill set, right? So yeah, welcome. Appreciate the support. And hopefully you continue to give value. We go live every Sunday at 7 a.m. to do weekly prep calls, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, faithfully every week. And we do these calls every week as well. All right, so generally around the same time too, depending on the news. If there's news at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, like tomorrow, right, with my private group, we're gonna be live at 5 o'clock, maybe 4:30 if they're awake. But it's the same for when we're live on YouTube. If there's a news event at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 5:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 6:45, right? We gauge when we're going to go live or send out the calls, at least on YouTube for sure, on around what time the news comes out, because we want to have at least 20 to 30 minutes to prepare, go over some stuff, maybe answer questions before we get involved, right? So coming back to the chart here, we see DXY has absolutely exploded. So with that being the case, we have a high, took buy stops, so we got a stop rate. Got a stop rate up there. Okay, DXY is definitely ramping up. Is this going to be fake? Possibly. We're seeing that this is still supporting this. So we have a change in state of delivery here with this order block. Now we've got a secondary change in state after a stop run inside of a reasonable PD array. This is not indicating that it's going to be bearish yet, unless it was to break down below this. Preferably, if it breaks down below this, that'll make us certain. But if that doesn't happen, I'm still interested in trying to see if we can get a little bit deeper to the buy side. But DXY ramping up like this may cause us issues in that direction. So we're just going to have to wait and be patient, But I'm favoring, at least for now, given what we see, bullishness. I'm not looking for shorts at all. There's no reason to look for shorts right now. DXY exploding is only one reason to consider it. But we need structurally price to agree. And structurally, it's still supporting going to the buy side. All three of the indices are exploding. So why would I force a short to pick a top? The thought of, oh, it can't possibly go any further. Yes, it absolutely can. Oh, it can't possibly go any lower. Absolutely it can. Unless when price is displacing towards a level, you need to be looking on the higher time frame, because that answers your question. How far can it go? Well, when it hits a PD array, in this case like a bearish higher time frame PD array or a liquidity pool above us that's on those higher time frames, that is a moment where price may do a retracement. It may pull against you. So if you're chasing, or you're seeing price, not chasing, but if you're seeing price run to a particular level, you need to be looking out for opposing higher time frame PD arrays, because that'll be where price chooses to pause. If it's trending aggressively, it'll be just that, a pause and retracement until it gets back in line with the higher time frame narrative with change in state of delivery, right? Or maybe it creates an order block, that's what a change in state is. Or if it creates a breaker, like we saw here. Notice how it came literally right down into that, right? We're still bullish order flow now. Now, if this high and this low creates a failure swing up here, and then there's an SMT that forms, and then we break down below this low, that's a mitigation block, and that's a, good sign, especially with the inversion of this fair value gap here, that we would then look to try to go lower. And if we get down below this low, right, it would end up targeting these down here. So that's a contingency flexibility plan, levels in price that would make me flexible and look to potentially look for short-term, near-term short positions, still within the higher time frame bullishness, so that'd be a counter trend move for the overall narrative, but bias in that case would then shift from us running up, continuing the buy side delivery, to then trying to target the sell side near term. But it has to do with PD arrays being violated, what PD arrays are being respected, what the intermarket relationships are doing right now. DXY has obviously, out of nowhere, exploded. So that may make you adjust. You may have to have a plan to make adjustments. Okay? So, yeah, we got this fair value gap here. What time frame is that? That's the 1 minute. So we do got this fair value gap here. So we definitely want to watch how that's going to behave in there. So got the breaker. So execution from earlier, secondary execution that ran 30 points. I mean, if you saw this drop as a decline to go higher, I mean, that even offered 30 points as well, probably like 40 or 50 points actually. No, it was about the same. 30 points. So yeah, we're watching this fair value gap here. I believe this is a 5 minute. Yeah, it's a 5 minute. Okay. So yeah, we got to watch that and see if it's going to hold, because this is still, if you're looking at this and not on the lower time frames, it still has not confirmed that it wants to go lower yet. I'm assuming all of you guys would agree with that, right? Nothing in terms of PD arrays have been violated to really support the fact the price is going to turn and go against this run higher, which is also supported by the higher time frame, right? It has to break down. If it breaks this, inverts this, we also have a swing low. So inverted fair value gap, break down below this. We have a large wick. Once it gets below that, if we got to see how it's going to trade into it. It should be able to respect the 50% if it is going to go lower. But that's 1, 2, and then we got an order block here. Okay, that'd be a third PD array getting violated. And then of course, if we break down below this low, that'll turn my attention to seeing this as a market maker sell model. And 3 PD arrays will have been violated pretty significantly, at least from these lower time frame perspectives, with DXY supporting that idea taking place. But only when that happens will I be even considering trying to take a short. And maybe, there's other people that would be like, oh, well, I'm going to take this. Okay, cool. The model's there. I just basically can show you how I operate and, share my wisdom. And I'm not really, too concerned at all about, everyone else's strategic things that they do and when they decide to enter. Again, I'm here to just, be a conduit, help a lot of the concepts make sense to you so then you can fit it together. I'm here to answer questions and stuff like that. But, we're all different, right? And if that's something that you look to execute, maybe that made sense to you because it was a YouTube model execution, so be it, right? Maybe you're using DXY going higher. I mean, I could understand how that could be potentially framed out to go lower. And maybe you could have been profitable there, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But it's a counter trend move, right? So you'd have to have lower risk. And it's NFP week, so you have to have smaller targets. Unless, you want to not take that advice and then have to learn the hard way. Some of us had to do that. I had to do that. I had to get my ass whooped in order to learn a lot of lessons. But hey, to each his own, right? We're all individuals. CZ Rock said, I saw your Insta page. Been following you for 2 years. Posts of ICT clips. I love that from India once again. Yeah, no worries, brother. I appreciate the support. Love from India, man. Love from America, brother. For real. The internet's amazing. I just love it. We're going to add India to the list of students. I have students all over the world, which is incredible. It's literally incredible. I never thought I'd be able to be doing what I'm doing. And then to see, the impact and to see just how much reach we have because of the internet. I mean, it's just amazing because when you have something that's truly powerful and helpful, and you're able to pass that blessing along, it becomes just a totally different ball game. Things become so much more enjoyable, so much more meaningful. Instead of us just thinking I'm trading to make money, you want to make this very meaningful to yourself. I talk about this all the time because ups and downs can wreck you if you don't have your convictions attached to something more important. Like mine is my daughter. Like I started trading because of her. I wanted to have the free time. I wanted to be able to be accessible. I wanted to not have her ever feel like that, I'm being forced to not be there. Unfortunately, it's a complex personal situation with, me and her mom, but still, that was the purpose. So every time I felt like breaking my rules, every time I felt like over trading, over leveraging, every time I felt like, maybe, this is just getting too difficult or taking too long or whatever, I was rooted in that why. So nothing will stop me, just like nothing will stop you. If you root this to, I don't know, maybe your family, maybe there's a cause you want to be able to support, maybe you want to help the homeless, maybe you want to help change the world in one way or another, maybe you want to help better the world in one way or another. Whatever your goals may be, it just has to be bigger than just a dollar sign. Because we got to have those goals as well, right? Because if you don't aim for anything, you won't hit anything. But at the same time, you don't want it to be the only reason you're trading. We want to make money. That's why we're here. But why do you want to make money? For what? what makes that important to achieve? That makes things a lot more deep, a lot more meaningful. And, it's one of those ways to make it so trading is more manageable mindset wise. Right. So, yeah. And I'd love to hear some of your guys' whys too, if you wanted to post them in the chat, or if you want to DM me on Instagram so we could have a personal conversation about it. I would love to hear some of your guys' whys. And I can get to know kind of what's driving you guys that are following me and constantly here all the time. What makes you get up in the morning and join me? Yeah, I know my why, but what's yours? It's definitely something I'm interested in hearing about. So, dang, add Jamaica too. Dang, okay, India, Jamaica. I'm gonna write these down actually, because I will forget. That's amazing. I want to come to Jamaica sometime. Yeah, we're gonna have to make a trip. We got so many locations to hit. So, but yeah, that's amazing. Appreciate you letting me know, Fancy. Appreciate you. So yeah, basically this is where we're at right here. Price is kind of in a sideways movement, cracked in correlation. If it goes higher, there's going to be a crack in correlation. We have slight SMT at the highs there. Oh no, we do have an SMT. So yeah, if this was to break down below this, that's a whole lot more significant with DXY going higher and this SMT. Remember, it's about time then price. So we may see an SMT. We may be trading into a PD array. We may be doing this. We may be doing that related to price. But if the time doesn't align, you put yourself at risk of doing things incorrectly. So. But yeah, Fancy, I'm definitely... It's definitely now. Jamaica's beautiful. I've always wanted to go to Jamaica. Now you give me a reason, like a legit reason. Same with like all my students that are in all these other countries, like the UK, some in Australia, some in Greece. I mean, they're just all over the place. It's incredible. And then India, Jamaica now. I know there's some that I'm forgetting as well, but man, the list is getting pretty long. So now I got a reason to come and see those beautiful parts of the world, and we could, enjoy it together, Dang. Oh yeah, Portugal, right? Almost forgot. Carlos, where have you been, brother? We've been worried about you. In the private group, we had a conversation yesterday. If you want to let us know what's going on, we were worried about you, brother. We're like, what happened, bro? I'll be at Portugal. I have family in Portugal too, and Brazil. Oh yeah, Canada. There you go. See, I'm forgetting, yo. See, Nico, Carlos, some of my private group students. We got George here today. Nice. Not sure if Byron's still on. Possibly. Byron's one of the savages in my private group. He's been with me from day one. Yup, there he is. Glad you're still here, bro. Yeah, this is right in your territory, bro. Ah, that makes sense, Carlos. Yeah, we were just concerned. We were worried about what happened. We're hoping nothing bad happened. Yeah, that makes sense. Hopefully you get better, brother. Prayers to Carlos so he can get better. Yeah, so this is now, in my opinion, we got this inverted fair value gap now, YouTube model delivery. Now we got a breaker, and we're starting to see order flow shift a little bit. So if we can get a return into that. Remember, I said if we get below this, that'll set the stage for us to try to get down even deeper. Isn't it ironic? Exactly what we talked about is taking place now. Definitely a more dynamic delivery in there. This low to that high, this in itself is also a bearish breaker right here. Okay. So if we break down below it, DXY continues to run higher. We may end up seeing this act as something solid. This is the 1 minute, so let's actually move up a little bit. So yeah, if we break down below this, we'll have to see how it closes below it. If it just simply taps it, it may just be a slight retracement, because if we move up a little bit, it's a little bit aggressive to try to just assume that it's going to just bounce from there. It might. Higher time frame wise, it's still bullish. What concerns me is DXY. You know, DXY is definitely a concern at the moment for timing the buy position at the moment. Oh yeah, Mike's here too. Mike from the UK. Oh, nice. You're in that short? Yeah. Hey, you and Byron. Right, it's right there. It's right there. Look at that. Bang. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that we're going to probably end up taking out these lows here. Hit the contingency plan. DXY is definitely causing some issues today. That SMT that I talked about, remember what I said? You know, it becomes more significant if we could see DXY go higher. So yeah, we're going to see how this is going to behave in here. Is it going to treat this as a market maker sell model? Like I said, it could be. Because now we've broken this. This area in here should act as a BPR to go higher when it traded back into it. Now that it hasn't, it may be inverting now and becoming a distribution leg. We got accumulation, manipulation here, distribution from the 7 o'clock hour. So accumulation, manipulation, and now we're distributing here, but now we got a second distribution coming right in here, or a redistribution potentially taking place to target the sell side liquidity. So yeah, let's see what wants to transpire here. And I can say also, if you want to wait and be even more safe, once we get down below this, because this created this large wick like this, we also got an inversion 10-minute here. Once it does that, we've traded now buy side, sell side of both those levels, broken down below this PD array, broken down below that low. So yeah, if it breaks down below this, it could be used as resistance. Then we could try to position something in there to go lower. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We're still outside of the macro. So again, I'm going off of an hourly power 3 dynamic, trying to see how this is going to behave in here. This is a breaker, right? Got a high here, low, higher high. Breaks down below the low. So that's an order block. It's also a bearish breaker. And we've now violated a lot of these levels in here. So again, depending on how it treats this breakdown below this low, it's going to determine to me what's going to potentially take place. Look at how crazy DXY is right now. It's not a high probability condition that we're trading in right now. You know, we already took down one nice trade. So if we're going to take a second trade, it has to be pretty clear. And you know, I mean, it does seem like it's pretty clear here, that at least for now. It's trusting the distribution lower, setting this up as a potential market maker buy model. The only way I will personally look to buy again is if we can invert this and not break down below this down here. And DXY keeps dumping like that. That would make this inversion level here much more significant to me. So yeah, we're in a mode of identifying an extra move. Let's see kind of what it wants to do here. Didn't really offer a return into this breaker. That would have been ideal. But it just opened up and just took off. So say this here, you know, just a return into that. Again, this is a bearish breaker in here. See how the 50% of the breaker here that I've outlined has been respected? Again, that's a move there. If you had trusted the shorts up here, right, off the YouTube model I mentioned, there was an opportunity in there. DXY was rallying at that time, obviously, so intermarket relationships were a bit sketchy. But now we basically rated the stops here. I definitely got my attention down here. It's really, really accelerating for whatever reason. And we have that SMT that set this up. So in order for us to buy again, it's going to have to get back above this 10-minute fair value gap. Right? Otherwise, if it stays below it, we need to stay below this low or this high too. We got this low to that high. All of this upper portion should be able to be treated as a BPR if it's going to continue to go lower. If not, right, we'll see it displace through it, and those characteristics will allow us to get back in line with a potential continued run to the buy side, especially with DXY tanking, right? And the higher time frame narrative is still bullish. If we look at this time frame, does that look overwhelmingly convincing that, you know, we're overwhelmingly going to drop? Not so much, right? The opportunity is potentially there, or the likelihood is potentially there. What we can see is there's an SMT here at these lows, and there's an SMT at the highs. So what DXY is doing is going to have to be used to amplify what we can trust. For now, it looks like it's a bit off, though. Correlation's all over the place, and that is a direct response or result to the bonds and yields also being cracked in correlation. Right, so this is the type of scenario. Things start getting all over the place, and you got to make sure you're being very cautious. Just wanted to remind you guys one more time, if you guys could like the video, right? See, I think some of you guys haven't done that yet, but again, I'd really appreciate it if you could take like 2 seconds to like the video if you get value. And of course, if you don't like it, you know, I don't want to, you know, push you to if you don't like it, but yeah, if you guys could do that for me, I'd really appreciate it. So yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys have any questions about what it is. Let's see, took a loss on the continuation move higher after 10 a.m. Entered at 10:09. We'll see, tap the 3-minute for value goes over to manage from 50 to 152. Okay, yeah, $50. That's not bad. Not bad loss. Almost 2 G's on a move. Nice. Good job. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I haven't taken the short. Although, again, we've identified where shorts could have made sense. Okay, and then this wick here, remember I said when it gets below this, it needs to respect this wick 50% and remain below this 10-minute fair value gap if we are going to continue to see this slide down and target the sell side. Okay? So yeah, and those that may have hopped on late, we already took an execution in here. Okay. Those earlier. TradeAway live account. 45 points. So you can go back and look at the context on that if you hopped on late. And now we're just looking for extra moves. 75% of the wick respected. Let's see if we dump. Yeah, let's see. You also want to watch the bodies, right? The wicks can trade into it deeper, just like how wicks, you know, the wicks are the damage. The bodies tell the story. So the wick right here, that's the story being told. Again, we ran down below that. Let's see, we got SMT here. Ooh. So we got some SMT here at the lows with bullish DXY. So let's see, if it breaks above this high here, that'll be very interesting. It's very risky to take a short and hold it for too long, because look at what's happening with the DXY now. It ran up. Clearly that was all fake. Clearly the bearish order flow is going to continue, which will be fully even further confirmed long term if we break down below this low. So yeah, again, this upper portion here, from this low to that high, 50% of that range needs to not even get traded into if this is going to keep being bearish. So we should ideally not even break this high here if it's going to have a significant run to the downside. So that's definitely something we're going to watch, or something we're monitoring. Again, we got that wick in there, so let's see the bodies. Close 75% of it. Does seem like it's still interested in, you know, targeting those lows. Nothing has displaced and proven otherwise. Even if you were going to buy, you wouldn't pick a bottom in here. You'd have to see other things unfold. You know, you'd have to see a shift in market structure, whatever your model is, right? You have to see the rules apply to the lower time frame while making sense of it on the higher time frame, right? At least the 5-minute. So you've got this breaker in here we're watching. So breaking outside of this breaker candle, that is enough for me to think that shorts are really not of interest whatsoever. Remove some of these upper situations. So again, this looks like potentially trendline liquidity. Also looks like just relative equal lows. London was fairly quick, so it's not unreasonable for them to want to do this type of turnaround But again, we have to have evidence and proof that or confirmation that it's going to end up doing things. We don't just execute because we see a down candle or an up candle. In this, again, we have this breaker, so there's an argument. Plus the YouTube model up here that we talked about. So those are the scenarios in terms of sell side perspective. But again, we're inside of a bullish trend. DXY is tanking, very aggressive, so it's a much more high risk environment to trade. But hopefully, the perspectives I've shared has made it pretty clear. There's nothing in here that I'm overwhelmingly personally interested in executing. Like if I didn't take this trade earlier, I wouldn't really have much to go off of in here until I see how this is treated. We did get down below this. I said we have to watch how it treats breaking down below this low. Getting down below and then rapidly repricing back above it, that's not indicating anything significant continuing to the downside. That's a sweep of liquidity to keep the higher time frame bullishness intact. You go to this time frame, the 30-minute, we could see that the Nasdaq's the most interested in staying above the PD arrays. Look at it, couldn't even close the candle inside that fair value gap. So it's more interested in potentially going higher. If we invert this level here, that's going to be nice. That'll be a nice inversion right there. Let's see what we can get off of that. We've already purged out early buyers. So think about who's triggered in the market right now. Higher time frame, we've already solidified that it's bullish. We're just trying to gauge, is it going to come down there? All the stuff that we've been talking about has allowed for us to do that. Right? And now we got this breaker. We got to see, we're blowing through it. That's not the way you want a breaker to respond if you're going to be bearish. So I'm still now, especially right now, of the opinion that unless this breaks back down below this, I'm now back in line with trying to take a buy. We now got to shift the market structure, run on stops. Remember the breaker here, the 50%, it's now violated, so it's going to turn into an inversion level. And now we got this here, so let's turn this green. Let's see if we can get up above this here. It's pretty nice. So this run higher here has been rooted in the 10-minute fair value gap. It just basically swept, spent very little time below it. So again, my attention's up here. And this is going to be a low resistance liquidity run if it targets the high up here because it's a failure swing. So yeah, that's what we're monitoring. We're watching this. So only way that sells would be back in line is if we get down below that. That fair value gap. Basically my line in the sand right there. Now let's see if we can't get some speed through this inversion fair value gap. Again, think about your model. Is there a model you have that's in play? Or is there something that you could make sense of to, reasonably look to execute something? Or are you just going to try to execute because you think it's just there's bullish candles or there's bearish candles? We have a context here. It came down from the 10-minute. Nice response, change the state of delivery. Inverted fair value gap. Now we're back up. We also disrespected the bearish breaker that would have helped justify getting even deeper down here to the sell side. That hasn't happened now. right? It's now it's overtaken this. So what does that create? What does that leave this fair value gap as if it stays above? Okay, let me know in the chat, those of you that know. So let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. When we overlap a fair value gap like that, what generally happens? What does it turn into? I talk about it a lot. You guys remember? That's a pretty nice response right there. See if we can't get that to continue. We're inside the macro now, so we should start to see speed pick up. Now whether that's just going to rip to the buy side or stay consolidated, you know, it's NFP week, so you never know. You know what I mean? Yeah, George, you got it right there. It's a balanced price range. So there's things that justify this continuing to go higher, not only from that lower time frame, but also here on this upper time frame too. There's an order block in here, but we just disrespected a breaker, and this up movement, down movement, 50% of that, if it was bearish, would not have been traded to. It just wouldn't have, because it would have been a balanced price range to go lower. It's creating balanced price ranges all over the place as it's printing you know, consolidation to displacement, which then retraces to try to balance the range again. It's in and out doing this constantly. You know, so when it shows up like this, overtaking a fair value gap like that, that's a good sign. If we could stay above that, it's a good sign that we're reversing. But if this was to break down and get back down below this, that really sets the stage for these lows to be targeted. Right? So if you think of YouTube model, if you see this right here, we got a stop run. On this 3-minute, we could see if we get a shift above this high and leaves a fair value gap. We have an order block here too if you move up in time frame. But that would be pretty significant, right? And that would probably get us to have enough interest to try to get up here. Not sure if it's going to happen. We're inside the macro, so if it's going to happen soon. Or at least it should. That's, you know, what I'd anticipate reasonably. Here we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Just like that. So I did end up taking an execution in there. Right off of that area. Basically off the stuff that I'm mentioning to you guys. Just like over here. How I did it here. Same thing happened. There. Oh. Let's see where did it go. So entry was 25,613. 25,613 to 25,644 and a quarter. And just for completeness sake, show you right here. Oops. So just to prove, I always need to prove it, right? Exact thing that I was highlighting, giving you the context of why it should hold, why I believe what I believe. And ran 30 points. Right? 31 and a quarter. So overall, we've had a pretty good day. About 79 points in total. Or wait, 45 plus 31. 74 points in total. Right in front of you. Right before your very eyes, like Houdini. Right? So, and of course I could have held it, but again, I have my rules for NFP. Just, it is what it is. If I get offered 20 to 30 points, great. I was probably a little bit too quick on this one. I probably should have, like, nothing happened against it. Everything is supporting it. I mean, this stop loss down here was absolutely safe. So was this one. So, I mean, I let this one run a little bit, but hey, I already got the first one. The next setup, if I take like one trade and I make like more than my 20 to 30 point target, the next trade that I take, I'm absolutely taking either 20 or 30 points. I'm not demanding more. Because why? Why demand more when you're already ahead of your goal? You know, why keep risk in the market that's unnecessary? You know, at least that's how I look at it, you know. So, but yes, pretty nice if you ask me. What do you guys feel about today? How's the experience been so far? Did you guys learn some stuff? Were you able to, you know, follow along? If you guys weren't able to follow along, say you're kind of new, let me know what part about the presentation makes that happen, because I want to, again, you guys are the reason why I'm doing this. It's not for me to toot my own horn. I mean, I could care less what people think or know about my trading, other than I know what the hell I'm doing. You know, so if you guys let me know, kind of like, you know, what made sense today. If you guys have any questions, if it makes sense with the run higher, again, let's just go up here and take a real deep review at what I called on Sunday and see just how magnificently it's playing out. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely gorgeous. You know, there's just no question about how amazing this is. You know, I mean, I don't know much more to say about it. But again, I don't even really got to say much, actually, because you see it. I mean, your eyes aren't lying to you. You see what's going on every week, you know. So I try to make it super obvious without, again, needing to put you in a trade. But hey, remember I talked about the suspension block too on the Dow? You know, we're pretty on point. Remember my target, for those in my private group, you know that this up here has been something I've been mentioning for literally weeks. And then when we got down here, it targeted my goal down there as well, which I had painted when price was all the way up here. So we went down to this gap in here. And then now from this gap, we're now coming up to this gap. And I've had those outlined for literally about a month and a half. And it seems like both those targets and everything in between is being walked like a dog. You know, and it's just simply because of the stuff that I literally teach you guys, stuff that I share, the stuff that I showcase, the videos that I point you to, all of, you know, ICT's, you know, specific content. I mean, all of it's valuable. You got to find what works for you. But if you think that a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching works for you, it's ICT's concepts. You know, I just have my own little recipe and process relative to those concepts. There's so many concepts you're able to make your own. You know, and ICT says you should be happy about that as well when you get to that point as well. So, but hopefully all of the components make sense. It's been a pretty spectacular morning, if I do say so myself. Of course, I've left a little bit of money on the table, but, you know, who cares? Okay, 74 points. I mean, who's not going to be, or 76 points, 45 plus 31. Yeah. 76 points. Who's going to argue with that? Who's going to argue with that? That's how many people are going to argue with that. That many. Right? So yeah. And if they try to argue, who are these people anyway? Who cares? You know, so. Let me check the chat. Okay, no, so no questions. I'm assuming that means that everything makes sense. And again, you can always just DM me, and those are my private group. Obviously, you always have a direct contact to me if you need anything. So yeah, so let me know this: who took a trade this morning? Not because of me, but who took a trade this morning? Aside from Nico, I know Nico took a trade. I know Mike took a trade. 2 of my private group students. Let's see. Byron, did you take a trade? Fancy, did you take a trade? CZ Rock, did you take a trade if we're still here? Yeah, just let me know. Precious, what's up, bro? It's been a minute. Carlos took a trade. Of course, why am I even asking that question to you, Carlos? You're out here crushing it. You only been with me for less than, what, 6 months? You're already out here smashing it, dude. You got to give me updated also with the tournament that you're in. Well, definitely DM me so we could talk about it. Some person said it hurts me that I don't get the opportunity to join these important live streams because of medical school. Hey, don't look at it that way, brother. Don't look at it that way. I want you to appreciate the fact that you're in medical school. Medical school is absolutely amazing. My mom's a nurse, or was a nurse. Now she's involved in cancer research stuff. But just take it as, something that you have to do. Maybe eventually that changes. But just you can review these videos. I'm doing this stuff every week. Of course, if it was an option to join my private group, it's very reasonable. There's different tiers, but if you want to be on the live calls and you think these are useful, if you had them 7 days a week, I think that may be able to benefit you. Minus the weekends, right? We're live on the weekends, but that's a lot of, catching up on, any like process gaps that you guys have, stuff like that. But it's really very reasonable tier. If it's reasonable to you, right? It's reasonable compared to everybody else on the internet. I've kept it that way because my students set the price for it. But yeah, if live streams every day is something that you think you could use, because maybe you can't join on Tuesday because I only go live on Tuesdays. I'm live every single day in my private group. So maybe that's a solution. Or if that's not a solution, which totally understandable, you could just simply watch these videos as a review. Of course, you can hit me up on Instagram and if you have any questions or whatnot, I could try to help you as best as I can through DM. Or you can just switch your approach, right? Instead of day trading, you can move up to the 15-minute chart. I think it's more or less like you're trying to learn, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's more of a learning type thing, like trying to be here live so you can maybe ask questions. Is that what is hurting, right? Or making you feel like you're missing opportunity? Of course, you could like DM me and whatnot if you want to talk about this stuff. You don't have to talk about it publicly. You could just tell me a little bit more about the situation. I'd be happy to hear you out. Dang, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. I didn't realize Carlos has only been with me for 1 month. Carlos, if you could do me a favor and do everybody a favor. So you joined my private group about a month and a week-ish ago. Let me know how your experience has been. If I have any other private group students in the chat, just share your opinion on the experience you have being part of the private group. Is it worth it to join? How's the community, right? Is the community supportive? These are a lot of questions I get, so I think it's best that, if I have some of you guys from the private group answer the questions rather than me just talking about it, because that could be potentially bias, right? No, it definitely is bias, because I know what it is. But yeah, if you guys could do me and everyone on YouTube a favor and do that, like just mention, it doesn't have to be like a paragraph or anything, just a short and simple description of how your experience has been. That'd be wonderful. I also have a lot of reviews for those that may eventually want to join the private group. I have reviews on WAP. I have reviews on my highlights on Instagram, so you can kind of see the vibe. It's just like this times, every single day live calls for my one-on-one students, which I only take every quarter. That portion's closed now. But for my one-on-one students, they have recorded videos, archive of the live calls that we've done, amplifications for certain things like extra teachings based on what they've asked me questions about, some one-on-ones that they've allowed me to share with the group. Because sometimes we talk about some really, really powerful stuff, from mindset to technicals to business structuring to all kinds of ideas. It's never financial advice, obviously, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I've learned a lot. I have a lot of stuff that most people don't know about in terms of trading, both because of ICT and, my own studies. But then you also got one-on-ones, right? We schedule one-on-ones. That reminds me, Mike, we have to determine which day. I know you said you'd get back to me, but might as well take this time to remind you. If you could get back to me, I think it was today we were going to make that choice as far as what day works. But yeah, let me know in the DM, and we could talk about it a little bit later, because I gotta fit you in. So yeah, one-on-ones. I mean, it's so much stuff that's involved when it comes to joining the private group. But if you want to keep it, solely about the live calls, and that's all you want to be a part of, and get this type of experience all the time, 7 days a week, that's offered at the most reasonable rate possible, cheaper than everybody on the planet. There has to be a paywall. I can't just let everybody in, simply because I'm trying to protect the community, right? My students are the reason that I have a paywall. They told me to a couple of years ago, or 3.5 years ago, because there was too many scammers and crypto spammers and signal junkies and people that don't really take this serious joining. And it was getting hard to manage on my end. I couldn't catch them all. And, they were getting DM'd. I mean, in the free group, right? I already get messages about that type of stuff happening. And I got to manually go in there and delete it. So to avoid all that, and also at the same time, have the serious students funneled into, or students that just simply need extra help, funneled into one community that's completely secure and very well managed and packed with value. We ended up creating, the private group. It was already a private group. Like, Byron's been part of it since the start. Before it even became, a more exclusive community, the cheapest exclusive community, with some of the most insane results that I show publicly. But yeah, it's become something really nice. And the students in that group are absolutely amazing, by the way. So, and Precious, you're welcome, brother. So let me see. Carlos said, in 2 years, this was the first time I managed to fund an account. Yeah, that does say a lot. And you're saying that being part of my private group, not even on a one-on-one basis, but just simply on the live calls with us, and constantly, going back and forth with some of the students, of course, including myself, but some of the other more elite students in the community as well. So you're saying that basically that had a pretty heavy impact? You'd say that it's had a heavy impact? Yeah. The only difference between tier 1 and tier 2 is the one-on-ones and all of that. And just like the level of involvement. I'm involved regardless. I mean, look at YouTube. I'm involved with you guys for hours every week, and in the private group, I'm involved with you guys 7 days a week, even on holidays. You guys saw that. Thanksgiving, we were live. We were talking about things. We had a long, 2-hour conversation, 3-hour, about FX replay, about backtesting, about risk management. I mean, just about so many things. And it's like that every single day, because I really do this and I really want to help. And yes, time is valuable, but my goal of getting at least most of everybody that comes across me that wants to learn, that really wants to learn, profitable and or at least try to get them in a phase where they can become profitable on their own. I mean, that is a goal that, you know, I can't even articulate into words how important it is to me. You know, that's why I'm on every single day, not only for my own trading, but in my private group. I want to see you guys succeed. You know, I really do. And if that means that I got to get on every single day, do videos with you guys every single day, answer questions, do what I do here on YouTube, just amplified, so be it. I love doing it. You know, I love talking about this. This is my life. Trading is my life. I love this industry. And it's done a lot for me. And it's done a lot for others too. You know, and it means more to me than just a chart. You know, so Carlos said, I've been in mentorship programs paying $250 a month and haven't got even half of these results. Look at that. What a statement that is. What a statement that is. What a statement that is. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm grateful that that's the case. It's very much a pretty solid commonality because I don't hold back. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hold back. And I know what helped me be successful, and I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm just a normal person. I dropped out of high school. I went and did construction for a while. Construction got laid off because of COVID. Before that happened, before COVID hit, 2019, I was learning about trading and then discovered ICT around a year in, and the rest was history, you know, and I basically just spent hours obsessing over everything, doing as much study as I could, you know, every waking moment I was on the chart, not trading. At first it was every moment in the chart, I had to click a button, 50 trades a day. And I quickly figured out that was the wrong way, you know, so a lot of the stuff that I've been through to get to where I'm at, clarity-wise and profitability-wise, it took a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that I had to do, and it wasn't magic stuff. It was very practical things, and a lot of it obviously came from ICT, and I have two other mentors that are, you know, charter students, and they absolutely helped me in many, many ways. You know, I can never repay them. I mean, it costed a lot of money to get their help. I mean, one was like $2,500. The other one was $1,800 to work with them lifetime. And if you compare that to what I'm doing here, I mean, I'm not even close to that amount. It's literally just, like I say, for a paywall. Just a slight paywall to keep spammers and scammers and bots and people that aren't serious out. Because if people aren't serious, they're not even going to spend $40. You know, they'll just say, oh, whatever, I'm just going to move on to the next victim. And I'm not trying to have that, because I value this in the community. I put so much into the resources in that community. I will not have it taken down by an idiot, and I won't have my students victimized by getting DM'd by a bunch of scammers as a result of being part of my group. I just will not have it. And the only way I could stop that, the only way I can put the biggest brick wall ahead of it, you know, is by having a paywall. You know. And it's exclusive. It's not a big community. It's like 38 people. And, you know, some are kind of in the background. They don't really, you know, some don't trade, but they still have lifetime. You know, they paid to be here for a lifetime so they can come back eventually. But, you know, the ones that are serious, that pour into things, you know, you get results while being here. You know what I mean? And it competes. The stuff that we do here competes with the best. You know, it really does. And the chart speaks for itself, right? It does all the talking, and it literally yells in people's faces. Like today, pretty much screamed in everyone's face who tries to doubt it. Before the fact, Sunday, my Sunday calls do the same thing. I mean, how perfect is that? Open, drop, run out of low, shift market structure. Now we're looking for another redelivery, to get another leg started going higher. But yeah, thank you, Carlos, for sharing your experience in the private group. It's much appreciated. You've only been with me for a month. a month and some change, I think. And you're one of many, you know what I mean? So, but I appreciate you being vocal about it and sharing that. And again, I hope you get better, bro. The flu sucks. I'm just waiting on the moment. Well, I'm not even going to speak it into existence. You know, I definitely don't want to be sick. Let's just say that. So hopefully we can get through this winter without getting sick. But yeah, definitely pray for Carlos, guys. You know, we need him to get better because you can't trade effectively when you're sick. You know, you can't trade when you go through stuff in life like a death in a family, or you lose a job and you're from a place of desperation or trying to feel good. It has to be systematic. You have to train yourself within the discipline of being systematic, and no execution you take is emotional at all. Nothing in here was taken emotionally. I figured that this was going to run to the buy side, and that's exactly what it did. This one too ran to the buy side, and that's exactly what it did. So, you know, no emotion, no nothing. It is what it is. Right? It's taken a long time to get there to that point. So hopefully I do the best job I can to get you guys to do that too. It was my youngest daughter who brought the virus from daycare. Gosh dang it. See, I saw my daughter yesterday. I'm going to see her again today. But I saw her yesterday, and she sounded like she was getting sick. And you know me, I'm sitting there just like, uh-oh. Oh, God, please no. And I guess she sounded sick because she just woke up, I guess. But I don't know. We'll see today. Because her mom was choking her lungs out. So hopefully your boy doesn't get sick. Because if I get sick, I'll still be live. Being sick doesn't stop me from being live. Here and in the private group. I just definitely won't take a trade. You know. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. You're already 90%. Beautiful. Beautiful, bro. Beautiful. So, yeah. I guess with all this being said, you guys, we talked about a lot of stuff. We called out 2 beautiful opportunities, showed you proof that I executed, showed it was a live account through, a funded account. That's why I trade Tradeovate. Of course, I have my AMP account. It's my personal live account. Took some trades in that as well, pretty much the same exact trades. We talked about a lot. Everything worked out the way that we thought it was going to work out up to this point. Maybe it looks to use PM session to turn against it and sweep up some liquidity. That would not be abnormal. It is NFP week. We could just hang around in here before it looks to target something significant like up here. One thing, too, I want to leave you with. I've talked about this before. Higher time frame delivery from, say, an order block, a breaker, a fair value gap, any other PD array, or any other scenario that we're looking to see price trade away from or to a specific level on the higher time frame requires institutional sponsorship. Where is institutional sponsorship scheduled? It's scheduled on the economic calendar. So whenever you're looking for something like an inversion or a normal fair value gap to deliver away, if we're inside of it, whenever you're looking for a price to trade into a PD array, like maybe a daily order block or a daily fair value gap, both of those scenarios require institutional order flow. And both of those scenarios generally take place as a result of a news event coming out, right? And then, of course, the kill zones and macros, that helps justify the lower time frame delivery within that bigger context. All right, so write that down if you haven't already. Very important stuff. I know a lot of you in my private group, we talk about this ad nauseum. Same with a lot of the stuff we talk about here on YouTube. But yeah, so let me check the chat real quick. Sorry, I was off to see your second entry, but noticed beautiful to bounce off. Yeah, it was pretty nice. It was this one right here. Right. Let me see. First presented. So yeah, this fair value gap here was the first good eye. First presented fair value gap was here. I didn't really even mention it as a first presented fair value gap, but that was absolutely an excellent delivery. So that was beautiful. And then once it got through this one, Mike, if you weren't here for it, I talked about this inverting and then blowing out the high up here in low resistance fashion because it's a failure swing. And we definitely got that. But obviously it looks like we're coming back inside the range for a consolidation type of behavior. Not something that's abnormal, right? This is why NFP is so difficult. It makes the whole week, in many cases, act like this. But does that mean you got to be fearful? Does that mean you got to think like, oh, you'll never find a setup, or you can't, or it's too hard? No. It may be too difficult for a new trader at first until you piece together all the stuff that we talk about, all the stuff that we learn from ICT, and some of the quirky little things that we talk about here in the WMG family, okay? So yeah, there's always opportunity, but this is why NFP week is, supposed to be a lower risk type of environment. You got to take smaller trades, and capture your 20 to 30 points. If it offers something like it did over here, the 40 plus points, great. But you lock in 30 at least if you're going to hold it. But I recommend not even holding it because you risk this happening. Imagine if I held this trade, I would have got stopped out. If I would have held this trade for more, I would have got stopped out. So because I took 20 and 30 points, that was the difference between me having losing trades or securing the winning trade and being content with that on NFP week. Because this is the characteristic of NFP most of the time, throughout the week. And then NFP is when it a lot of times opens up. All right? And again, higher time frame delivery from a level or to a level requires institutional order flow or institutional sponsorship for order flow to take place, right? Aggressively, because it's a higher time frame. It needs larger volume or larger interest, larger reason, right? Volume's fake. It's no volume. I don't know why I said volume. Yeah, holding trades. Yeah. So because that's the case, Mike, we gotta shorten it down, expectation wise. Have a bigger expectation, targeting a larger move, and as you work your way towards holding it, as you work through with me in the private group, and on one-on-ones that we're going to start having, we're going to talk about order flow. Right? I've talked about order flow. I talk about it a lot, but we'll amplify even further to make it so you can eventually feel comfortable. I mentioned some of the stuff here on YouTube. It's not like I'm, on YouTube holding back powerful things. There's some things that require more explanation, and one-on-one students definitely get that, or even in just part of my live calls, because we do point things out. But that extra help is obviously there for one-on-one students. But yeah, again, a very easy fix is going to be to just aim for 20 to 30 points and be content with that. You only need 20 to 30 points, Mike. You only need 20 to 30 points. I literally passed a funded account this year with Top Step, literally only using the framework of 20 to 30 points. I trade pretty much regularly and target 20 to 30 points, and I do pretty well. And the more you size up, the more confident you get, the bigger your account gets, the more capital you get. And again, the more you size up, the bigger that 20 to 30 points becomes. Everything's scalable. You don't need to hold trades for massive amounts to be successful, to get a huge gain. That comes with time. And it comes with understanding of institutional order flow, which again, we talk about a lot, and how to navigate it here in the YouTube channel and definitely in the private group. And Mike, you have access to the one-on-one calls now, the pre-recorded and amplified lessons. We did I think you were on the call where we talked about, I think I included everybody in that one, where we talked about the institutional order flow and the 5 pillars of institutional order flow, as price is printing real time or on the higher time frame. So definitely go check that out under the mentorship call section. Under that link, you'll have access to those videos. And of course, I can amplify it too this weekend if you guys need it. Right, just let me know in the private group. So yeah, Mike, if you haven't been implementing the 20 to 30 points, today is your sign to do that. Disregard any of your feeling of, oh, it's not enough, because it is. I prove it's enough repeatedly. And then there's other students too that also can vouch for it. So you only know if something works and will work for you if you try it, right? So if there's been hesitancy, to try doing that and silence the portion of you that's telling you to require more. Just silence that for now. Give it like a month or two trying to capture 20, 30 points, because you find good opportunities. You also use the flagship model that I teach in the private group, the Razor model. And that thing is showing up constantly and offers more than 20 to 30 points all the time. Right? Quickly. Because remember, speed is part of the characteristic of that model. Right? So, you're welcome, by the way. You're welcome. But yeah, so we've kind of turned around in here. Right? We look at the nastiness, right? That's just part of trading NFP. But again, no matter what condition you're in, when you're around people that know what's going on and you eventually learn how to navigate this stuff, which I showcased beautifully today with all the different components and the mindset as well, you eventually learn that you have opportunity in any condition. It doesn't matter what condition you trade in. One thing too, you could see this run higher to go lower as a market maker sell model that failed to target the low. So that was another reason to be running to the buy side. This movement here, once we inverted this fair value gap, became a market maker buy model, framework. You could have looked at it as. And then now we're going down to market maker sell model. So you can see how market maker buy and sell models are universal, and you could trade consolidation with them as well. As long as you have an entry tactic you can identify, and you stay focused on smaller targets within the range. But yeah, the contingency target seems like it may get targeted for PM sessions. So yeah, with that being said, again, hopefully you guys got value. God bless you. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Mike, I'm glad that you like that model. I love it. It's definitely my favorite out of everything. But again, I've proven it works well with every model too. It fits inside of them, inside of one another for the most part. Breakers, 2022 model, and our Razor model. Institutional order flow, entry drill, and all the other ones we talk about. They're good extras, which I also teach. I teach all of them because I know all of them. I use a set amount, but yeah, I'm glad you like the model. So yeah, is there anything else? Definitely watch the low down there, like I mentioned. Also, we have the regular trading hours gap, so it seems that that's what it's targeting. If I was in here trying to look for an opportunity, I know I kind of stopped mentioning the market, but once we got down below this fair value gap here, that would have been my trigger to look to try to go lower again. This would have been an early sign, just this simple delivery that we had there, respect to the down wick, leaving open the fair value gap, running the stops up here, which I believe created SMT. Yeah, we have SMT at the highs here. Seek and destroy. You see the S&P? Seek and destroy behavior. But the market can't escape. It's too bad. Too bad, so sad. We got lives to change, okay? So it is what it is. But yeah, if this would have dropped here, my potential execution would have been down here. I would have looked at this down movement, up movement, break down below this low as a breaker. All of this from this low up to the high would then have been classified as a BPR. Once we got down below, I would have had to wait because of how seek and destroy vibe it is today. But nonetheless, this would have been something within my model for sure, and something to consider if you use breakers, because it is a breaker right there. The low, high, lower, low, and then inversion of all these different levels. Oh, nice, Mike. You took the continuation. Beautiful. Share it in the private group. Yeah. Notice how both of our targets to the buy side, well, the major one didn't. Overall, though, it went higher. But I said the contingency plan is down here, and it could later in the session target that. And it looks like we were correct on that end, too. So buys and sells were basically outlined logically, not over complex, based on a higher time frame. And hopefully everything makes sense. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Again, don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Share the message, right? Spread the word about the community. Let's see if we can, grow this community with like-minded individuals and continue to change lives. All right. So, yeah, that being said, God bless you guys. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Hopefully you learned something. And we'll be live again on Sunday here on YouTube. And those of you in my private group, let me know if you guys need anything later. I'll be available a little bit later in the day. And, of course, we'll be live every other day, or every day, moving forward. To be continued, right? So, yeah, God bless you guys, and hopefully you guys have a good rest of your day. Talk to you guys later.